another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week we are talking about Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Another one of those movies that I can't believe it took us almost 300 episodes to discuss. Part of it was that we were waiting for conventions, but they seem to be gone forever. Who knows? So, Scott, can you tell us why you decided now was finally the time to talk about Killer Klowns from Outer Space?
We needed a win, like it's October. We needed a win. So, it was like just reaching for that bag of 3D Doritos.
Yeah,
the thing that you just keep it up on a pedestal.
That is what this movie is.
We said we needed Killer Klowns from Outer Space, even if it's unconventional. Hey-o! Oh, bo, 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 boo.
Look at that. Oh, Brian's done for the day.
Yeah, Brian's like, peace, guys.
No, I mean, Scott, you said it really well, actually. This movie is 3D Doritos. This movie is a 1-liter bottle of Pepsi. Like, this is all of those sugary bad things from the 90s that you just couldn't get enough of. And that's how I feel about Killer Klowns from Outer Space. It is very much a very specific time period in my life. And I worry sometimes that I have blinders on with this movie, that I'm unable to see fault in it because of childhood, or if it's just that damn good.
It's just that damn good. Listen, I am the most cynical of us, and Killer Klowns is a perfect movie.
I know some people complain about this. I don't know why, but this might just be like a kill count compilation type episode, because really it's just people dying. Like, it's like,
yeah, there's no social impact of the Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Like, there's no layers. There are no layers.
I have one thing that I think may have a layer to it, and I could be totally wrong here, and I could be looking for something that's not there.
I think so.
There's a scene in the beginning where they're trying to express how shitty Officer Mooney is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he arrests these two punk rockers, or guys who look punk rocker, for drinking wine, like public intoxication, walking around with a bottle of wine. And there's a part of me with the way that those two characters act around each other that made me feel like, are these characters also supposed to be lovers? And is there supposed to be like a low-key homophobia in there from the perspective of Mooney as well?
All right, so you're not crazy. I thought that this time, but I don't know if I've ever noticed it before.
Yeah, just like the things that they say were like, it was just a lovely night. We wanted to walk around together with a bottle of wine and look at the moon. And it's like, well, that's not really a thing me and my buddies do.
Well, you don't drink, but you look at the moon more than I can count.
If your buddy was like, hey man, you want to go like take a moonlit stroll through the cemetery, you'd be like, fuck yeah.
Fair.
I just feel like up until the third act, every scene in this movie is just basically an intro to a movie. Like, they're all throwaway characters that get killed before the title card, but that's the whole first two halves of the movie. Could be like an intro.
There's a reason why you feel that way, at least with one of them, and I just found this out this time. Probably my favorite scene in the movie.
The dinosaur?
Where the clown... No, where the clown is floating beside the guy's car. That was supposed to be the opening scene of the movie. So the way that it was explained in the IMDb trivia, that character driving that car has a name. Joe Lombardi. They keep referring to Joe Lombardi. So Joe Lombardi was supposed to be out at make-out point with them, and you were supposed to be introduced to that character, and he was trying to get a girl to make out with him who didn't. So he kicked her out of the car all pissed off and drove away from the rest of the group, and then you're supposed to see him get killed by the clown beside the car, and that's how like everything else starts. But they were like, that's kind of even dark for like how lighthearted we want this movie to be, so let's just make him just a random driver in the middle of the movie that gets attacked by a clown instead of it being a plot point. But that's why they refer to like, we were up there with Joe Lombardi. Like, they say that like 4 different times in the movie.
I've definitely never given enough thought to each character in this movie, because like the humans are just cannon fodder. So
yeah, they're disposable. So there's like 50 people that die in this movie easily.
Yeah, and at the end when everybody's hugging and smiling and, oh, we made it, I'm like, your whole town got eaten or blown up.
It should look like the ending of Mars Attacks, where they're like giving him the medal and there's only like 20 people still alive to see him receive the medal. Like that should be the town at the end of Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Did you catch there's a very small part in this movie played by a comedian of the 90s who had a short-lived sitcom? Do you know who that is?
No, but I know you do.
Christopher Titus from the TV show Titus is the dorky guy with glasses that we see trying to cross the street to join the rest of the people.
Oh, when he's carrying beer brand beer.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yes, one of my all-time favorite tropes.
There's no reason for a 9-year-old to like Titus as much as I liked Titus, but boy, did I enjoy that show. Maybe it's because we had 4 channels growing up, so Fox was really my only option for television, but
that's definitely not, like, I'm staring down the barrel of 40 and I have no interest in watching Titus, you know, like I don't know.
You shouldn't, but I get what Brian's saying. When you grow up and your options were literally CBS, ABC, NBC, or Fox just seemed to have more kid-centric shows.
Did it?
ABC was Friday nights through Saturday mornings, and then it was just Fox the rest of the way because Fox Kids in the afternoon.
Fox Kids.
I had no idea. Like PJs was like this dark comedy about growing up in the ghetto, and I'm just like, claymation Eddie Murphy. This is awesome, you know.
Yeah, we watched a lot of like prime time television as if it was kids' entertainment growing up. One
of the main characters of PJs was a crackhead who was in underwear the whole time, and it just went right over our heads.
Yeah, I think back on the fact that like at 10 I loved Spin City starring Michael J. Fox, and I'm like, that probably had a little bit to do with the fact that I was a Michael J. Fox fan, but a lot more to do with I didn't have Nickelodeon or Disney Channel as an option in the evening.
Correct.
Of all the deaths, most of the deaths in this movie, like you were saying, Brian, they show up so quickly that you don't even really care. There's no investment in them. The exception to that rule for me is I still am kind of bothered by the death of the farmer in the beginning of this movie because he just seems like a
nice
kind
guy.
of weird. Yeah, like he's a nice old man. He's got his loyal dog. Like that scene bothers me so much.
He's like the Haunted Mansion ride. He's just the guy startled with his bloodhound.
Yeah.
So
where?
And isn't that guy the drunk uncle in Ghoulies 2?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. I love how it's like that's the level of commitment that I have to doing my own podcast is like 2 movies that I picked. I didn't go back to actually find out if it's the same actor. I'm just like, Matt'll know. Yeah.
I want to talk about all of our first experiences seeing this movie, but I know for me, it was a classic 5-year-old home from preschool playing a video game. And at that time, we had a tiny back room with a little TV. And it was one of those weeks where we were getting like cable or Cinemax for free for a couple days. And I guess my parents had been previously watching the free HBO or Cinemax in the back room. And I was playing my Nintendo. And when I turned off the Nintendo, it went right to the television. And on the TV was the knock my block off scene from Killer Klowns from Outer Space. And it scared the bejesus out of me. And then I didn't watch the movie again until I was like 12 or 13.
Oh. You can't ask me. This is like asking me the first time I watched Star Wars or The Simpsons. It was just something I was kind of raised on. We watched it a lot, and I don't remember the first time.
How about you, Scott?
I don't remember the first time I ever saw it either. Like, I want to say that it was probably on Sci-Fi Channel when I was in college, because I also didn't grow up with cable, so it was like 3, 5, and 8, and then PBS, so that NBC, ABC, Fox, and then, like PBS and not cool stuff. But, like I would see horror movies and sci-fi movies on the Sci-Fi Channel at my grandma's house because she had cable. But I know for a fact I never saw Killer Klowns in high school. So the earliest possible time it could have been was sometime in college, and that would have been when I would just like hang out and watch sci-fi. I had the Sci-Fi Channel on in my dorm room. If I wasn't playing guitar or listening to music, that was on as like the background noise. It was always on.
When did you go to college? What year were you in college?
2001 or 2005.
So, did you watch? Because I loved in that era. Did you watch Scare Tactics? Because I fucking loved that show. It was a prank show. It was just a prank show where you could get your friends on, but it would just be like something like a werewolf would come out or like a serial killer would chase around. I think Carmen Electra was the host until Tracy Morgan took over. But
that's a weird transformation.
Well, I mean, they're
show.
both very sexy. So, two things. First of all, I just remembered that the exact same scenario of me turning off a video game and seeing someone get their head decapitated happened to me twice. Because the other time, and I will never understand why HBO or Cinemax was like, you know what's a good thing to throw on right around like 1 p.m, was Reanimator, and I turned off the video game just in time to see Herbert West decapitate the evil professor. But yeah, man, 90s into early 2000s Sci-Fi Network, like half this show is 90s warm blanket nostalgia, and dear God, I think I'm so forgiving to how many bad episodes of The Twilight Zone there actually are, because like there was such a comfort of knowing that when we did eventually get cable when I was in like middle school or early high school, knowing that like at 7 p.m. every day was going to be an hour block of old Twilight Zone episodes.
Dude, it was great. and then it just got to a point where they were like, we're going to produce our own movies, and we can only afford like 3 a year. So when we're not showing those, it's just going to be every type of Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica. Now Sci-Fi is just Battlestar Galactica.
Which, like, it's weird because I have tried so hard to be into Star Trek. Like, I've watched all of the original series, I've watched all of Next Gen, and I've watched all of Deep Space Nine, because every time someone was like, oh, no, original series isn't the good season. You need to watch the Next Gen. So then I watched the Next Gen, and they're like, no, it's Deep Space Nine. That's the one that's, like, for you. And they're all just, like,
okay,
they're there. You know what I mean? But, like, I will say that there is a weird ping of nostalgia I get for the Next Gen theme song, because it was the sound of me changing the channel. Like,
no, I
would stick around, hear the theme, and then be like, all right, something else.
I would casually watch the original, and I don't necessarily think it was bad, but it's like I have come home from work and been like, man, I really want to watch Return to the Jedi. Like, out of nowhere. It's like, let me just throw on Return to the Jedi while I'm making dinner. I'm never in the mood to watch Star Trek, ever.
My nostalgia for Star Trek pretty much begins and ends with that VHS tape that I still have of the, like, American Institute of Television and Radio presents Sci-Fi Through the Ages that we taped off of Fox in, like, 93, where it was, like, hosted by Dean Cain, Carrie Fisher, William Shatner, and Leonard Nimoy, where they go through like the entire history of science fiction on television from like the 30s up until now. That was nice. They did 10 minutes on Star Trek. That was the best 10 minutes of Star Trek.
Well, let me see how long this movie is before I throw it on my Patreon. Ooh, 2 hours. Fuck it, it won't win anyway. I'll throw the only thing I ever loved about Star Trek, which is Star Trek 2 is a dope movie.
Oh, yeah, no, Wrath of Khan is fun, and we get to yell Khan a whole bunch. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really all the episode.
I can't believe we've never done that either.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this one out there, and then I'm going to say to bookmark it for later. But there's also one of the things that's burned into my brain is Star Trek Episode 3, The Search for Spock, where a lot of kids were scarred by the worm inside of someone's ear that they had to like pull out of the ear. So Brian, you might be able to share something about that later on, but I'm just gonna set up that domino, and then we're gonna say, what are some of your favorite kills in this movie? Because there's such a variety to them.
The fucking wastebasket in the shower is a cool puppet.
Yeah, the monsters that are that come from the popcorn. So, I didn't write down any notes about favorite kills because all I did was I was looking through my notes and I'm like, no one wants to hear me just quote this movie. So I don't know what I was doing.
The only reason I showed up
was to hear me quote Killer Klowns. I think that my favorite thing about the popcorn is that, well, it makes no sense, first of all, that it becomes other kinds of killer clown monsters, because the popcorn guns are fun, super fun. I love that. And she's like, popcorn, why popcorn? He goes, I don't know, it's because they're clowns or something like that. And I love the line of reasoning. They're like, this is such an absurd concept. It's like fourth wall breaking, but not really. You know, it's like, it's just very self-aware, and I love that.
So on the Patreon, and we've already recorded this, but on the Patreon, Scott and I recorded a breakdown of the theme song based on his cover of it. And as you just said that line, I had to ask, did you just decide you didn't want to do the movie quotes anymore? Because, man, I'd love to hear that cover just with like random movie quotes scattered amongst it now.
I really have stopped using the sound clips. I think I only ever did it in the first Horrors album. Specifically for the Killer Klowns one, it wouldn't work because I think that it would make way too busy of a song if there were lyrics and sound clips.
Well, Brian, you mentioned the shadow puppets. Is that probably your favorite of the kills, with him doing the giant T-Rex?
Yeah, I mean, it's just from when I was a kid, most memorable for sure.
What about when the balloon dog gets run over?
Are we counting that as a dog death?
Yeah, yes.
So there's 2 dog deaths in this movie, not just Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
Oh, Pooh Bear.
Well, you don't see Pooh Bear die, so we're just going to imagine
he got away.
He got away.
Yeah, this movie should have ended with Pooh Bear coming back, and they're like, and everyone knows Pooh Bear. They're like, "Oh, Pooh Bear!" And then the pies fall from the sky.
Hip hip hooray! Hip 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 hooray! Pooh Bear elected mayor.
One that's burned into my brain, like Brian was saying with the shadow puppets. For me, I think it's the pizza delivery, where the box pops open and the clown, I believe his name's Shorty, pops out and just like blasts the gun. And it's like both a really good and really bad green screen effect simultaneously, but like I fucking love it. Like I love that scene.
I'm really glad that scene went the way it did instead of the way that most pizza delivery scenes go, where, you know, yes, the penis in the pizza is what we... Oh, I'm sorry. This is an audio format. Brian used his hand signals to point out that he knew what I was talking about. I got to give them a lot of credit for, as silly of a movie as this is, there's a good amount of foreshadowing for real in the script, because the psycho cop is like, "You're not going to make a dummy out of me," and they make a dummy out of him.
Which is, I was about to bring up, like, it's definitely the most horrific death in this movie.
It's the goriest because the clown squelches. There's like squelching sounds as the hand comes out of the back of him. I mean, it shows that they have a lot more power than just being hungry. You know, like they have technological power because they have these popcorn guns and they have the ray guns that zap you and turn you into spun sugar. But they also apparently are necromancers.
Buying Up All Your Gray, the new EP from Pack, is now streaming on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere else you get your tunes. Featuring members of the Juliana Theory, Zayo, and Punchline, Pack brings decades of indie, hardcore, and alternative influence to their debut release. Limited edition screen printed vinyl available now at mindovermatterrecords.com.
Do we have any other final notes before we dive into the double features?
I want to say that it's weird that the ice cream delivery guys definitely fuck Killer Klowns.
I forgot about that.
I can't.
Is it because of the inflating boobies? Is that something that's like been burned into your brain?
Yeah, it's up there with Species 2. With things that invert my penis.
I think they were always supposed to survive, but the cop was definitely supposed to die in the original script. And then everyone was just like, he's a nice enough dude. Let's let him live. He'll hide in the ice cream truck with him.
Yeah, but also I'm of the mind where I can handle a lot of stupid shit in a movie. But when they bang the Killer Klowns, that's the point where I'm just like, I want to get off the ride now, you know?
Yeah. you're about to use the chicken lane on a dark ride haunted attraction,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
You're like, let me ask you guys a question. What is your interpretation of the final scene in this movie? Because I assume that those are the same acid pies that killed the security guard earlier and that everyone is dying as soon as it fades to black. But, I mean, I guess they could just be regular-ass pies that fell from the sky.
I think they're regular pies, yeah. Sky
Okay.
pie.
All right, so, Scott, this was your pick. What is your double feature on this?
Really, there is only one movie that you can double feature with Killer Klowns from Outer Space, and that's Sadistic Insane Clown Killer.
Oh.
Fair.
Although I don't know if I'm man enough anymore to make it through both of those in one sitting, because that is a marathon of stupidity, which it's entertaining stupidity, but it's still stupidity.
It's stupidity, regardless of entertaining, is still stupidity.
For whatever reason, I put this with bad taste.
Okay, I'm going to go with one that's been brought up many a times on the double features, and it'll continue to come up many times on the double features. The 1988 remake of The Blob.
Ooh, yeah.
Because it definitely, I mean, it's very clear that this movie is aping the original Blob movie, just especially in the first 10 minutes of it. So I'm gonna have to give it to that. Scott, what is something that you watched done? Are you still dealing with insomnia, or have you actually
not
gotten
as
some
bad.
sleep?
I'm
Okay,
getting
so
some
you
sleep.
haven't been binge watching TV all
Oh
night.
no, I've still been binge watching movies.
Okay.
It's just that I'm man, HBO Max has so much on it that I could talk about. Can I talk about the last week of what I watched?
Yeah, if you want to, go wild.
Okay, so it started with the 2013 or whatever Clash of the Titans.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's as bad as I thought it was going to be. I grew up with the stop motion.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't grow up with it. I watched it as a kid.
Let me ask you a question real quick. What would we categorize those under? Like, are those clear for main show picks if we wanted to do like a Jason the Argonauts and a Clash of the Titans, or is that strictly a Patreon pick?
For the originals.
Yeah, for the originals,
just
the
the
claymation originals. Because I feel like there's enough monsters in it to justify.
I feel like Jason and the Argonauts would be an easier pitch than Clash of the Titans.
I'm just saying, we need to expand our horizons a little bit. We're starting to really scrape the bottom of 80s, 90s.
Which one's the skeleton warriors? That's Jason and the
That's
Argonauts.
Jason and the
That's
Argonauts.
Jason and the
Yeah.
Argonauts, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be fun.
That's the thing,
Let us
though,
know
is
in the
that-
comments.
Yeah. If you think that we should branch out into some of that sword and sorcery stuff, I mean, there's a lot of gruesomeness.
Yeah, a lot of these, I think we could get away with it, especially the 80s sort of, like, here's the path, I say. First of all, like, Jack Brooks' Monster Hunter is, like, basically the origin, the story of leading into, like, a sword and sorcery movie anyway. So, like, we start there, and then it's like, okay, well, now we're talking about Charles Band, and the only thing Charles Band made outside of, like, bad horror was bad fantasy sword and sorcery movies. And then, like, if we're going to talk about those, we might as well talk about the good OG ones as well. So I think we're in the clear to talk about sword and sorcery
I
movies.
think you spread it out,
I have
but
no
I
problem.
think what do people love about schlock, like horror movies? And then if it checks those boxes, right? Because everything I love about like a full moon picture kind of checks the boxes for like Jason and the Argonauts. You know what I mean?
Stop motion,
Yeah.
monsters, subpar acting.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. So we're past the first thing that you watched
All
this
right,
week,
so-
which was Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, so Clash of the Titans. And there are a lot of famous people in that movie. And then, of course, I had to watch the sequel, Wrath of the Titans.
I mean, how could you not?
I mean, this wasn't in one night.
You came this far.
Yeah, this is over the course of like so what I do is I put on a movie and I probably watch about 20 minutes and then I finally fall asleep. And then I wake up at 3 a.m. and watch another 20 minutes. I have to find the last thing I remember. So, it takes a night or two nights to make it through a movie. If the analytics of my movie watching were tabulated, it would look like I watched Clash of the Titans like 5 times.
Yeah, they're like, man, this guy fucking loves this movie.
Yeah, this is a great movie. No, I feel like anybody who sees that would definitely be like, this guy is falling asleep every time. But then I watched Wrath of the Titans, which is somehow more entertaining, but a worse movie. And then I went another step because these are, suggested movies beneath them on HBO Max. I decided to watch Battleship.
Oh, wow. No.
With Rihanna?
That was, yeah.
Nice.
It was, and Liam Neeson's in that too. So Liam Neeson is in all three of these movies. That's why I'm mentioning them together. But Battleship is the worst movie I have seen in a long time. And this is also because I don't watch
You don't actively seek out bad movies.
Yeah, I don't seek out bad movies, and I also don't really watch a lot of zero budget movies. So for me to watch a movie that's, that costs probably $500 million or something ridiculous.
Battleship was there was money behind that
and,
shit.
and the thing is that I don't know where the money came from. Who signed off on this?
And the question is there's only ever been one successful board game to movie attempt, and it was in 1985. So why in 2012 were we still trying to do it? And even then, Clue was not a successful movie upon release. It was
I thought you were talking about Mazes and Monsters with Tom Hanks.
Well, that's like a D&D made for TV movie. I don't think that counts.
I was making a joke, Matt. We all knew you were talking about Clue.
I'll edit it so I got the joke. Well done.
I'll bring it back to some positivity. I rewatched Shazam after that, and Shazam is just
delightful.
It's a delightful film, yes, and it just that movie is just so charming, and it's frustrating because how could DC get that movie so right and every other thing it's done so wrong?
It's because they don't give a shit about Shazam. That movie's probably not made by committee the same way that the characters that they give a shit about is.
Okay, that's fair.
That's my guess. I'll keep this short and quick. Saw the new Candyman. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's the best Candyman sequel, which isn't a high bar. It is definitely a Candyman sequel, which I like, that it's not a remake. It's a direct sequel to the original movie. And I think that for the most part, I enjoyed it. There's a lot of stuff that I don't like, where I'm there's a lot of suspension of disbelief stuff for me in it. I don't understand the people on IMDb who are giving it 1-star reviews complaining that it's sullying the original Candyman by injecting so much racial undertones when it's did you watch the first Candyman movie? But I will say that on the flip side of that is that I think that the first Candyman maybe wasn't as ham-fisted as certain parts of this one can be. But all in all, I would say I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's really good. The people who are saying it's complete shit are probably not good people. It's worth checking out. It's got some really good, gory, uncomfortable scenes. It's just got some logic leaps that I'm not a fan of. Brian, as horrific as Candyman may or may not have been, you're slowly joining the Scott Insomnia Club because of something you experienced this week.
Yeah, I haven't had a full night's sleep in quite a few days. I'm a little out of it. Look like a raccoon. I woke up. Sorry. I have a flashback. I woke up at 4 a.m. on Wednesday morning with my ear itchy. And I have really bad anxiety. So I feel bugs crawling on me often. When I'm going to bed, I feel bugs crawling on me that aren't there. So I wrote it off to that. And then it was wow, this is really tickling and itchy. And I went in and I did the biggest mistake because I was in a daze, and I took a Q-tip and I put a Q-tip in my ear, and then it just was literally my eyeball was twitching, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I'm I think I have a bug in my ear. Jade comes upstairs and she's like, "What's going on?" Because she couldn't sleep, so she went downstairs. And for whatever reason, I was in a fucking Lifetime drama. This is not made up. She's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." So I'm okay, there's a bug in my ear maybe. So I get a syringe. I'm looking for a syringe, and I'm shooting warm water in my ear, and it calmed it down. The moving stopped. So I was oh, whatever that was weird. So then I get up, and then it started again. This tickling thing. I'm looking, I'm reading, and every article is it's very rare that you have a bug in your ear. It's probably this type of ear infection, this type of anxiety. It's very difficult for a bug to get in your ear. But if there is a bug in your ear, try to wash it out with warm water. And if it's still alive, you have to try olive oil. So I went downstairs with a syringe. I pulled up some olive oil and I shot it in my ear. And then it felt like something was having a seizure in my brain to the point that I just dropped on the floor in agony.
Oh my God.
Like screaming. And then it just stopped. It just stopped. And I felt pressure in my ear. And I like just laid on the couch with my ear open like this, hoping that something was just going to like slide out. I go to an ENT. He like looks in my ear and he's like, all right, we're going to get this thing out. And he like has like this, they're called alligator claws. And he pulls out like 2 legs. He's like, oh, we're going to have to suck it out. This may hurt a little bit.
Oh my God.
My hand was like glued to the wall, and I've never had my knee so straight. My leg was straight up as it was sucking, and I was just convulsing. And then he was like, oh, hold on. So he's like, okay, that hurts. Let's get some water. And they just blast water. Same thing, like huge. So just huge pain. And then he's like, okay, we got it. I was like, what was it? He's like, do you want to know? I was like, yeah. He's like, it was a cockroach. And he showed me it. And I have a picture of it, which I could send you guys if you want. Matt had already seen it. And then I'm like, okay, the worst is over. And he's like, so instead of putting you on antibiotics, I'm going to put this like sanitizer in your ear. It'll just kill any germs. It won't hurt. He poured acid into my skull.
Oh my God.
And my ear still hurts. I waited like a few days to use a Q-tip because I did after the first day. And Jade was like, dude, you have no earwax in your ear. Like, don't clean your ears out. And then today I did it after the shower and it's like dried blood. So I don't know. I may have some damage. But yeah, I haven't slept. I have what happens every night is I have these like mold type earplugs that I put in my ear. And then I fall asleep and I'm conscious enough in my sleep to take them out of my ear and put them on my bedside, like in that daze. And then I fall asleep and then I wake up an hour later, realize they're not in my ear, full on panic and like jam them back in my ear. So I haven't slept for more than like an hour each night consistently.
Yep.
Like I probably sleep for like 4 hours a night, but it just hour increments up for a little bit, then an hour. So it sucked. It's been really
Holy
bad.
shit, dude.
But I got to edit a podcast, which I never had time for. But when you don't sleep...
That's how he was able to rewatch Killer Klowns this week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that jolly note, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more Horror Movie Night. Go ahead and hit up patreon.com/HMN podcast if you want to hear Scott's breakdown of the Killer Klowns theme song, or if you just want to hear next week's episode earlier than everybody else, that's an option too. Or, Brian, how about you do us a quick favor? Hold up that picture to the camera for the video audience. You'll see what the fuck came out of Brian's ear.
Dear God.
That's only half
Do
of
they
it.
know?
The other half
Yeah,
you pulled out with the tweezers.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring out, was like, that's definitely... put it away. Put it away.
Tune in next week for more Horror Movie Night.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.